we're back. We're back once again, and I already see some amazing comments. Crypto Clown World says, fucking Jeets made me miss the intro. I still don't really know what that means, to be honest, but it sounds highly offensive, so I'll just continue to repeat it until I get banned from YouTube. Anyways, what's up, Philosophian? Please tell Elsa that Yanita's new album, Mad Equation, slaps hard. I don't know what that is in reference to, but she's right here. Wait. Elsa said, let me turn on the light. Elsa said, I don't care, she's a lib. Holy shit. Where did this Sorry, I fixed that. Elsa said she'll fix it. She'll fix it. All right. Oh my God. She said, sorry, I'll fix it. I'm not a libtard. Jesus. Okay. I didn't know where did this extremism come from you? It's all a surprise to me. She is a libtard. Okay. What are you? What are you? I'm the best. You're the best. Well, fair enough. What's up? I'm a winner. Yes, you have to be a winner to go to the States. Anyways, Mr. Van Duysen, good morning to you, man. I see a lot of familiar faces in here as always. Anita Shu says number one. Indeed, we are number one. We're all gay for TA in the Gay Pride Month. It's beautiful time to be rainbows. I just got a message from my gym saying that it's Pride Month and we should go to the gay class, I guess, today, which... There is an actual gay class today, which is great in the gym. That's what we need. Anyways, I also heard that there is significant complaints about men fucking each other in the sauna, which is, well, what can you expect, honestly? Anyways. A wiener, says Johnny. Yes, indeed. A wiener indeed, man. A wiener indeed. The Italian style says, I think we all want to know the answer to the important questions like, when pee-pee poo-poo time? Well, it depends on your own personal timing, but for me, it's typically in the morning. Pee time comes at all hours of the day, but poo-poo time is usually in the morning as we get prepared for such streams as this. Chicken Ray has a nice gay flag emoticon. That's great, but you're missing several of the new gay things that are included in that in that flag, so I take that as offensive, sir, and you better check yourself. You better check your privilege, check your biases, and check your, check your pronouns as well, I guess. Anyways, I see a lot of people asking about altcoin season. Well, you can't have altcoin season when the exchange staff are selling against you or manipulating the price, whatever the fuck that comment was last week. As far as alt season goes, there's actually a really good chart now that I think accurately represents just the, I guess, where we're in the grand scheme of things in terms of alt season, if there even is one. And it's this chart right here. It's a new one by TradingView. It is the ratio of total market cap excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins to Bitcoin. So it's basically everything except for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins versus Bitcoin as the underline. And honestly, I mean, they probably should have included Ethereum in on this one as well, because I think this chart would have been honestly worst. But if we go to the monthly view, you can see that this is confirmation of what we kind of already know. Alt season from, bless you, alt season. Hey, shut the fuck up, for real. Like, Jesus Christ, we're trying to do a stream over here talking about magic internet money and you're sneezing in the background. You didn't even announce your pronouns before the stream, you fucking... Oh God, I won't even get into it. Anyways, my point is that on the monthly here, it's kind of confirming what we already know from cycle to cycle, and that is alt season from cycle to cycle is diminishing returns as well, by the way. This one over here represents 2017 and 2018, which was effectively the most insane alt season I think we've ever seen, because that was the debut of the Ethereum ICOs, and things just went to the moon and beyond. I think anyone who was around in 2017 can definitely attest to that, because it was really a special time where things were actually going 100x, and it wasn't that, I mean, yes, it was a big deal, but it wasn't out of the ordinary. In 2021, yeah, pretty impressive alt season right here as well, of course, but certainly nothing in comparison to what we saw the cycle prior. In fact, from high to high, you can see that there is effectively a almost 60% reduction in terms of returns, just looking at shitcoins. And of course, for this current cycle, we see the high in about December of 2024. That's been the extent of, or that was the height of the meme coin season, right? And if we compare that to the prior cycle high, that's about a 50% reduction as well. So, I do look at this as, well, long-term, alt season, if you even want to call it that, is going to turn into fucking herpity derp season, because it's just getting worse and worse from cycle to cycle. Again, doesn't mean that you can't find big fucking winning altcoins. Of course, like I said, this current cycle, there there were a couple sectors that went absolutely fucking bananas, I guess. That was your real banana zone. That was your memes, and then that was your AI and AI agents tokens, you know, those highly esteemed crypto tokens. But ultimately, you know, I just kind of expect this chart to kind of follow what we generally see for most altcoin versus Bitcoin pairs, which is sideways and down. And again, I think if they included Ethereum in this calculation, this chart would actually look worse because Ethereum obviously is already back down around those prior cycle lows in a way that this one is actually not, although it is rather close, you know. So it's like you're measuring shit versus piss. Which one would you rather have, a pound of shit or a pound of piss? I don't know. You make the decision for yourself. Although on log scale, it looks fine. No, I'm kidding, of course. If you ever want to feel good about your shit coins, just put it on log scale, and that's the way to do it. Yeah, Bitcoin Quick and Dirty on Twitter says, check your pronouns. Hey, Elsie, glad to hear that, man. 4-year listener. I fucking love it when we got long-term cave homies in here, because these are the real ones, and I feel like we just continue to collect these people as each and every cycle goes on. There's a few that stick around, and it's fun, man. It's fucking fun. And Pesto, wait, what? What are you?
Am I the real one?
Are you a real one? You're about as real as that kangaroo on that fucking plane video that I sent you earlier. And Dava says, piss is healthy, shit, toxic, very bad. Ethereum is a shat coin, says Free. I mean, I don't really think it's, all jokes aside, I don't think it's actually a shit coin, Ethereum. You know, they still, there's still so much shit on it there's still so many things being built on it that, you know, I think it's a little bit too early to call it like full on fucking shit just yet. But, you know, I do want to point out here that Ethereum is doing something completely different than Bitcoin, especially in the short term. Ethereum continues to work off of this higher low, which was effectively our most recent price action pivot. And as long as Ethereum's above there, I mean, it is not theoretically, it is quite literally and technically bullish, because you do still have an uptrend, although still can't really be looking for like a real breakout as long as you're below about 2,700 on a daily closing basis. But, you know, it's inching its way up there. Of course, as long as you got those higher lows, have to be biased towards the upside, and it does really, you know, feel like, again, I just have a hard time not seeing this one at least get to like 3,200-ish region at some point. maybe later rather than sooner, but hey, it would feel very, very bizarre if that did not happen. But of course, you know, for Ethereum here, I could very easily get bearish on this thing if it does take out the last price action pivot low, which is the Sunday's low, and that is 2469 or 2468 just to be, you know, blunt about that. Anyways, oh yeah, before we actually get into the real analysis for Bitcoin, I should let you know that we got our summer sale going on with the code SUMMER in all capitals and then 20. Let me actually just write it out right here. Maybe I put it also in a visible portion of this stream, but it's SUMMER 20 right there. You get 20% off of literally anything now. It applies to even the quantum wave bands, and also the newest, biggest, baddest boy on the block, which is of course the price action pivots indicator. In fact, there is a new update for the price action pivots indicator coming that we're going to put on today. It's actually going to arrive, I believe. I need to talk with Bear again just to make sure, but I think it actually might arrive as a separate indicator in its entirety, just so that you can kind of play around with the new updates without fucking around with your prior one. But I'll confirm that a little bit later and then also make the announcement. Anyways, yes, enough for the shilling, and let's get back into the comments and let's get into some actual Bitcoin analysis. And maybe we actually look at a little bit of traditional markets today, because traditional markets also similar to Ethereum, you know, still putting in these higher lows right here. And again, as the LARP lines go, as long as Ethereum is above the most recent price action pivot, you know, this is still higher lows and still an upside bias. If it does lose the most recent price action pivot, then hey, I do think that we could get a pretty decent retracement here. That'd probably equate to Bitcoin also, you know, down, I would imagine below like $100,000 or so. But, you know, but ultimately, the post that I made on Twitter this morning is kind of my general thoughts. Like, look, Bitcoin's not necessarily immediately bullish, as I'll be going over on the lower term timeframes, but it's also, you can't really call it bearish here. It can afford a pullback. It's got higher lows effectively on the timeframes that matter for actual trend, you know, especially as long as you're above like 95, 96,000 bucks. So, you know, it's like any sort of pullback that you do get is very likely an opportunity. And with the way that traditional markets are looking right here, you know, it's like kind of have to take those opportunities. Same thing with SPY. I mean, more or less the same chart. Actually, I'm curious to see what MicroStrategy looks like. A lot of the time you can see that this one's making an obvious move, whereas Bitcoin is a little bit less obvious. You know, and again, it's like same thing here. You got higher lows effectively as long as you're above like $300. I think that you could afford a little bit more of a pullback here. just like Bitcoin, but that's generally going to be an opportunity, especially looking at the higher term timeframes, just reconnecting with a major moving average like this and then trying another upside move. But yeah, anyways, pullback is the best anti-conception. Oh, that's pull out, sir. That's actually pull out. Anyways, what's up, Champ Blue Radio? Appreciate that, man. Seth Shepard says, I love Cardano for alts, but I support everyone. Fair enough. You support all of the alts, like even the super shitty ones. Well, your support of the super shitty ones helps out Cardano as well, I suppose. But yeah, actually, this was a question that was asked quite early on within the stream as well, and I actually do want to give it because Pepley Prickler. God damn it, I can't say your name, sir. Need to pull back to it. Where it's Peppy. Oh man, it's actually left my screen now, unfortunately. But he was asking about Cardano, and he had to go. Let's actually just take a quick look at it. Certainly not in the category of like best shitcoins for this cycle. Again, when we go to linear scale, I think that becomes a little more obvious. But is this necessarily bearish right here? Like, you still got higher highs, still got higher lows on the monthly. But just like Bitcoin, just like most other things, it can afford a bit more of a pullback here. If it does take out effectively this weekend's lows, probably back down to like 60 or 50 cents or something. But do I think it's actually going to break down to new lows from there? Wouldn't be my first call on the first pass. I think you get probably something like this that you saw in April if you do get a downside move there ultimately. I think that at least at the very least, most of these things are primed to hold sideways, not taking out, not closing below, most importantly, those April lows. But like I said, any sort of pullback that you get, down, that effectively, with the way that things look right now, is, probably an opportunity. When I go to the weekly, it's like, can this thing come back down to like 60 cents? Yeah, easily, but it's not necessarily bearish until you're back below the April lows, which I don't think you're going to get on this current move. I'm happy to be wrong about that, but the trend is your friend until the end of the trend, and the trend has not necessarily ended just yet. Again, as long as you're above those April lows for most things on the higher term timeframes, just, still the same thing. Craden C says Peppy Tickler. Yes. I think I have your, check out Craden's pinned message. Really like that one. Shout out to last week's stream. The exchange staff are selling the Bitcoins and manipulating the price. Discuss it now. It's like, I feel like you just told me what to say, and I don't necessarily agree or can even verify that statement because it's probably false. It is what it is, ma'am. It is what it is. Seth Shepard says Cardano is definitely not dead. Not saying that it's dead, but I'm saying as a chart, it's very uninteresting compared to most things in this market. Maybe not even most things in this market, but the problem is that 95% of things are worse than Cardano. So it's not in like the super shitcoin basket, but it's also not in like the good chart basket where you have, something like SUI as of recent, or even Solana as of recent. It certainly hasn't gotten anywhere near its 2021 highs. So, it's the bar is very low. So it is better than 95% of them, I would say. Coming in America and pulling out in Finland. Great movies, my favorites. Yes, indeed, man. Yes, indeed. That's the way that it goes. I'll actually go through some of these right now. Why not, man? I do want to check out some of the top market cap shitcoins just to see, what the agreement is, if any, across the market, because that can also make things a little bit easier. And then we'll go over Bitcoin, the actual Bitcoin analysis. But I'll just go down the list here. Dogecoin still below 20 cents. Already rejecting, that short-term bounce, just like Cardano. I think that this one can come down, a bit. This one could easily come down to like 17 to 15 cents region, but it's not necessarily bearish. I don't think you're going to break down here or come below the April lows. Yes, possible, but it's just not my first. It's just not my call on the first pass coming into a major moving average like this. Ethereum, we kind of already went over this one, but have to treat this one as bullish as long as you're above Sunday's low. If this one does trade and especially close a daily doodle below Sunday's low, it's going to flip around pretty damn fast, and I would expect a pretty quick move down to like 22 or 2300 at minimum. But for right now, in one of the more stronger positions, but it's usually not the best sign when you see that sort of bifurcation. Anyways, moving on from there, we got Solana. For a quick 5-second analysis, same shit as as Ethereum, except this one's like already kind of broken down a little bit. I think that this one could easily come down to like 130 or even 120, but is it going to take out the April lows on a pullback? Probably not. Probably again going to be at least be a bounce opportunity. SUI, this one taking it on the chin a little bit more worse than most other things. Clear and obvious downtrend right here. Can this one come back down maybe around like, I don't know, 290 or a little bit below $3? Yeah, pretty easily. But still, you know, it's very, 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 very close to a bounce territory. If it did come down, again, I think that that's generally an opportunity. Monthlies kind of problematic here if it closed below last month's low, but you know, it's a long month left to go, and I do expect in the short term to open up this month, you know, after this very, 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 very short term bounce plays out, which we spoke about on yesterday's video, which I actually think probably is already fully played out. You know, I do expect kind of downside to hit in the first couple weeks, and then if Bitcoin's going to be bullish, if the market's going to be bullish, you know, after the first couple weeks, probably up. Anyways, XRP still holds on to all major moving averages on the monthly, but yeah, you know, at best this thing's not at best, but it is trading within a range. Highs at 265, lows at 180. It's right in the middle of that range. I am biased towards a downside move here. You know, you got major moving averages switching into a full-on bearish posturing, with even the silver cross going to the downside on the daily. Weekly, you know, again, can come down to like 190. It's not necessarily a lower low. It doesn't take out the April lows. Probably a bounce around there if it gets around there, 180 to 190. What else do we have? Fart derp. I know people love this one. This one looks a lot more like a high to me. Again, doji dildo right here, plus closing below the low of that doji dildo on a higher term time frame for something like this, like a weekly 5-day time frame, already kind of leading that one in with momentum turning to the downside and remaining down as long as you're below 156. Like, yeah, you might get bounces here for sure. This thing is very, very, very volatile. You know, shit, it wouldn't surprise me to see it bounce up to like 130, but is this thing ready for more downside overall? I mean, kind of have to be anticipating that if I think Bitcoin is more likely to try a little bit of downside as well. Anyways, let's now get into some real Bitcoin analysis. The Bitcoins need some analysisizing, and let me just bring up my notes right here. The exchanges are selling. The exchanges are selling. Someone needs to fucking call them out, man. These exchange staff are out of control. They're just hitting the red button, but it's like it's fake money, man. It's totally fake. Yeah. In case you can't tell, I'm being facetious. What software do you use to stream, man? I use Streamlabs actually, which I'm not sure if this is the best one anymore, because I want to be able to like highlight people's comments and put them on the screen, and I don't think that you can do that through here. At least it's not super obvious or easy from what I can see. So yeah, would be a good way to get some good old live stream fun action going on. All right. In yesterday's video, we spoke about a very, very, very short-term bounce likely for Bitcoin. However, following that bounce, there is a move that is setting up, and I believe it is kind of occurring in our face as Bitcoin did bounce up to about 106.5 thousand bucks from yesterday's video of about 103.5, and ultimately Bitcoin is stuck within this sort of lower block on the 4-hour time frame. So starting off with the very, very low term time frames here, you know, the range for Bitcoin is, well, effectively that 106 high that we just saw this morning versus effectively the lows of yesterday at about 103.5, also governed by that white moving average, which is a 200 simple on the 4-hour time frame. I haven't really been speaking about these lower term time frames recently, and I think maybe it's time to bring them back, especially while things actually do go on here. But we can see that momentum, you know, turning down on time frames like this, indicating that at best, you know, we're in a bit of a consolidation between these two boundaries. And, you know, after rejecting the top side of it, probably going to be expecting a move closer to the bottom side of that range. Does it imply an actual breakdown? Not necessarily, but of course, because the price action pivot on the daily did flip around from a nice from a nice higher low stance, which was the Sunday, the 25th of May, so a couple weekends ago, to the high of last Tuesday, so literally 1 week ago. This one does give a downwards bias overall on the general trend, and of course that does imply that, you know, I would be expecting this current short-term time frame range at some point to break to the downside. But I want to be very, 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 very clear on these videos that while I do think that Bitcoin is just more likely to play out a bit of a pullback here, and it can certainly afford a bit of a pullback, it's not necessarily bearish. I think that ultimately this will end up providing a pretty major opportunity, you know, for maybe later this month or perhaps later in the summer. But ultimately, you know, Bitcoin's far and away from being declared like bearish at this point, I think, and I think that much is rather obvious. But as far as the short-term timeframes go, you know, it should be known that the 4-hour timeframe does have the potential for hidden bearish divergence here between the high that we just saw this morning versus the high that we saw on last Thursday. Thursday when Bitcoin was trading at 109 and 500. Yeah, 109,500. So you got that active or potential as long as you're especially below there. And it will be confirmed if Bitcoin does especially close a 4-hour delta below the last 4-hour low, which is 105,665 on CME. I'm specifically referencing CME here. If that does happen, expect another run around yesterday's low. Maybe it even sets it up for a real breakdown to the very, very low 100s. But like I said, again, long-term, probably an opportunity if you are more long-term minded. On top of this, I should cover the higher term time frame stochastic momentum oscillators, which are continuing with downside bias here. Again, daily time frame on CME heads down as long as you're below 110,600 US dollars. On top of that, it is also about to break this trendline regression that has been calling the lows since the late February lows. So assuming that Bitcoin is still below 110,600 by the end of the day, you will effectively see that trendline regression broken. On top of that, the 2-day time frame, which I believe is closing, actually just closed last night, so this is a new update, is about to lose the critical zone, and that will continue as long as Bitcoin's below almost 112,000 US dollars. 3-day time frame also freshly turning down. This one is closing tonight, by the way, so it will very likely continue down, assuming that Bitcoin remains below 108. I'm just going to say 108. And then, of course, when we get to the 5-day time frame on spot price action over here, this one's already hinting at a cross to the downside. However, it does not close until tomorrow night, Wednesday, alongside the daily, and that one is pivoted at 110. So basically, as long as Bitcoin's below effectively what is the current all-time high by tomorrow night's close, you're going to see all these things more or less moving in the same direction. And when I see the daily, 2-day, 3-day, and 5-day all align, generally you're going to see a move in that direction. Which we already have seen like a, kind of a decent move right here, but that would effectively align them all simultaneously. And, I'd be generally expecting a bit of a pullback here. That, of course, is going to be combined with the 5-day time frame, which did actually confirm bearish divergence on this last closure versus the highs that we saw both from January 26th and also the highs from December way back on over here. So, of course, this high that Bitcoin just saw at the end of May is still higher than both of these points right here, despite having a much lower RSI. So yes, you do have divergence right there. Typically speaking, I do look for a move somewhere around the yellow moving average when you get that many drives of divergence, and that is currently crawling up at around $96,500. I assume that when we get tomorrow night's closure, it will rise, it's destined to literally rise up again, unless a Bitcoin closes the day below 80,000, which is probably unlikely. But should be rising again. I would estimate somewhere closer to like 97 or 97,500 bucks, and that's kind of what I expect for the extent of a downside move if it does occur. And so we should probably go over how to confirm a downside move is actually occurring. Well, over here, using both the price action pivots and caretaker's RSI, we can see the caretaker's RSI is printing that potential hidden bearish divergence. It will be confirmed if Bitcoin closes here or lower in the next 4-hour period in 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 11 seconds and counting. And we also see that Bitcoin is getting rejected at that green 55 EMA in a bearish posture as well. But of course, all of this doesn't necessarily imply an actual breakdown. A breakdown will be confirmed if Bitcoin can close below this last price action pivot here, which is Monday's low at 103,700. 103,700, yeah. By the way, if you're looking for the price action pivots or any of these indicators, just so you know, we do have a sale going on as of right now for the next week. The code is summer. God damn it. I can't do anything right today. The code is summer20 in all capitals. It literally applies to everything that is in the Teachables link in the description below, even the quantum wave bands now, and also the price action pivots, which we've been getting a lot of questions about, which is actually really, really cool to see because, well, I think that this is probably the most user-friendly indicator and does provide a shit ton of value. I find myself relying on it, maybe honestly a little bit too much, to be honest. But yeah, anyways, as far as pullback targets go, it's still the same thing as yesterday. Also, what's in that range for areas of interest would be that red 5 EMA on the monthly, which Bitcoin loves to reconnect with almost each and every month. And during times that it does not reconnect, typically Bitcoin trades sideways. So that's all the way down at about 90, somewhere between about 97 and 98,000 bucks. Let's just call it in the middle, 97 and a half. So, I would be cognizant of that as an area of interest. If Bitcoin does get down around there, it should at least at minimum be a pretty decent bounce. And if you are bullish, that should probably be the low as well. Anyways, moving on from there, I did want to go over again the weekly HPDR, because the weekly HPDR is now living below the 38.2 level. So again, this is kind of a corrective setup as it is. And that does imply that as long as Bitcoin is below the top side of the 38.2 level at 109,250, you know, can't really be expecting like any sort of massive mega confirmed breakout to what would be likely massively new all-time high, somewhere between like 120 to 125 if I had to guess. But basically, as long as Bitcoin's below there, or what is effectively the last price action pivot, which is again last Tuesday's high, you know, the trend is your friend, and it is not a confirmed uptrend as long as you're below there effectively. And that picture will evolve over time, obviously, but I do want to do one last check in on the 5-day 5 EMA strategy. Again, this is the one that is effectively designed to capture these very long-term moves. You know, it's not a big winner all the time, obviously, but whenever Bitcoin has a big trending move, it is designed to catch these, like we saw back on over in October of 2024, effectively opening up at about 63,000, and you know, Bitcoin traded up close to about 108 or 109 during that period as well. We actually saw a few other examples of that during the past couple of years, where you were getting these 50% moves over here, and of course, this most recent one, which opened at 83,650 almost, has actually still not closed just yet. But if you recall these statistics, they typically last on average 50 days. 50 days is 10 bars on a 5-day time frame, and guess what? When we see tomorrow close, that will be day number 50, literally on the dot. So if Bitcoin does close below the red 5 EMA on the 5-day time frame, which is 104,350, then yes, that one will effectively close. If you took that trade, then fucking congratulations to you. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's a $30,000 plus trade, not bad. Or I mean, maybe to some people, I guess who the hell knows. Close to a $30,000 trade from entry to top, and fair enough, you know, for the people who've been watching this and following up on this, well, there you go. And of course, this is using the Quant Prime service, which is really designed, I should say, for more advanced people. So if you're not so much of an advanced trader, if you don't have so much experience, it's probably not the best idea. Quantum Waveband's a much better fit for that. But the Quant Prime service, you know, if you already do have a lot of experience, then I would say maybe consider it. You can also try it out for 7 days free as well, and even get the 20% discount code at the same time. Anyways, that's where I'll end it for today. Enough shilling for one moment. Let's go look at some shitcoins and carry on with the live stream now, and I'll see you on the next one. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Crypto Down Under says, but Nana, where are the big green dildos? It depends what you define as big, sir, but I mean, we did have this bounce that we spoke about on yesterday's video. I mean, that, like, the problem is because these numbers are so big, it doesn't look like shit on the chart. You know, it's a $3,000 move. Like, that's big. I mean, I think it's big at least, but because Bitcoin's trading at such big numbers, you know, it just doesn't look like much. Anyways, are you leaving Finland to flee the Russians? I'm leaving Finland to flee the fucking to flee the oppressive bureaucratic state. I'll put it that way, man. I'm being oppressed, and I need help. I need help. Anita Cho says, I have a feeling altcoins will go sideways or bearish for the next 2 to 3 months. According to some of my indicators, maybe we get a fail. Maybe we get a fail or fall bull run for alts. I think you meant fall. Anyways, yeah, let's look at some of these shitcoins. Else has already got them all lined up over here. And as always, Mr. Steven Schickman is number one, the most consistent man of all time. He's looking at DOG. You kind of looked at it very briefly earlier on. Daily time frame, you know, again, I think at best, or maybe not necessarily at best, but accurately, you are effectively trading in this block here. Highs at about a quarter, lows at like 15, 16 cents region. You just rejected the highs. You've come down to the middle of the range already. Looks pretty weak to me as it stands. I do still think that this one does pull back further, but do I think it's going to take out April lows on any sort of a pullback? Very unlikely, no. You know, I just have a rule. I don't get bearish into a test towards a weekly 200 simple until it actually does break. And even there, like, I really don't like front running any sort of thing like that. As far as the long term goes, you know, I still think that this one is likely primed for another upside try, you know, above. I actually do think it probably gets above 30 cents as well. I mean, look, like the monthly does have an uptrend. You got low, you got high, you got higher lows, you got higher high, and what is effectively a higher low right here. So it's not necessarily bearish, just not the most strong thing of all time. So that's what I'd be saying about that. And then you're looking at AGQ. Holy shit, that is a tough one. Okay, so it's some sort of a silver ETF, I'm guessing. I remember we looked at silver a while ago, and it's actually looking pretty good. This thing, it seems better to me to just hold spot silver if you want to be long silver. I mean, look, this thing's going to go up as well, but I think long term, like compare that with this chart right here. Yeah, this chart is objectively significantly better. But anyways, we'll go back to the last one. Look, I think that this one's going to move up as well. You probably see a move towards like 47, 48, maybe even $50 within the next month, like sometime this month or next month. Does it break out from there? I think that it very likely will. You know, you actually do have a reversal here in the making on a quarterly. You got a couple of higher lows. You don't have a higher high just yet, but you know, personally, I actually do think it will trade up into the 50s. And then come back to it after that and see what the hell's going on. But yeah. All right, then we got JS. He says, hello, Sir Crown. Please take a look at TMC stock. Okay, I'm glad that you specified it is indeed a stock. Wow, powerful move right there. I don't know when I charted this one last, but it seems to be working still. Don't recall this one at all, to be honest. But I marked off this level right here, and it is literally exactly at that region. And it does seem to be reversing in the short term as well. Nice little head and shoulders. The herp and derp on the highs does look like it's being resolved. So there is an implied target from this. Let's see what it effectively is. And it'll be... Oh, it's actually significantly further down. You know, maybe somewhere between like 3.5 to 310 on a downside move, somewhere in that pocket there. Do I think that this one's going to continue on with the actual breakout? Actually, I actually don't think so. If I'm looking at it on a monthly rather than a quarterly, well, you look at this as a top side of your range. So it is not broken out on the monthly. And as of right now, if the quarterly closed today, it is also not breaking out there as well. So more inclined to say that it does come back down into the middle of the range. But at least the short term, you know, I would be biased towards a downside move. So that's how to be looking at that one, sir. Anima has a great, oh, sorry. You also said you sold at 485. Oh, I think you did a great trade, man. Oh my God. Beautiful trade. Beautiful trade. And you're on a 4-hour time frame. Yeah, if you want to rebuy, I mean, look, I'm not your financial advisor and I'm not your dad, but I'd be looking somewhere 3.5 or a little bit lower if I really wanted to get back in, which that would not be my personal preference, but hey, you're free to do whatever the hell you want to do. All right, Anima1 says, I think I found it, sir. RETARDUSD. Okay. There is indeed a retard coin. Okay. Look, I'm just saying what's on the screen here, man. I'm not saying that it's, I don't want feedback. Oh, Elsa doesn't like the feed. So, and whenever I say the R word, retard, people send Elsa like these massive, probably ChatGPT generated novels of why that is highly offensive and you shouldn't say it. But look, it's all about intent in my opinion, and I'm just reading the fucking words. If I'm calling someone that word and I'm intending to be mean and derogatory, then that's a problem, of course. But I'm not doing that. Anyways, all right, enough of that, because only retarded people think that way anyways. So looking at the 4-hour time frame, you know, yes, it's a trading range. Yes, you're back in the middle of the range. Yes, I should be biased towards, you know, probably a test of the bottom side of the range, but is it bullish or is it bearish? It's not really anything as long as it's caught between these two price action pivots. I don't even need to do my trend lines no more. Or it's not even trend lines, but just areas of interest. Upside, 87,800. Downside, 350, whatever the hell these numbers refer to. I'm biased towards this one coming back down towards about 46,000-ish region, somewhere down around here at least. If it is bullish, I'd be expecting a bounce there, you know, aka a higher low. If it trades a little bit lower towards the May lows, then perhaps you do have a real problem. But for right now, you know, short-term downside move, give it a chance to bounce. If it proves itself, it proves itself. We don't want to be mean to the retard chart. Anyways, Philosophian said, oh wait, no. Please tell Elsa that Yanita's new album, Mad Equation, slaps hard. What is this slaps? No, that's in my generation, so I do understand this one. Anyways, Ray now says, GM Crown, your opinion on SWIGGY Indian stock. Okay, got it, man. SWIGGY. Yes. Okay, cool. Can't say that I've ever looked at it, but, and it looks like a shitcoin chart to me, sir. Effectively, very similar to a shitcoin chart. Anyways, they're saying I entered around 315 rupees. Is this in rupees? I think this is in US dollars. But anyways, so 315. So you're in the money right now. You're looking to exit at 370. I mean, here's the thing, man. You're trading against the trend here because this is still effectively a downtrend especially as long as you're below that May 5th high, and that's 356. If you do break above that May high, I think that your target is actually quite reasonable and will get hit at 370-ish, let's say, maybe even a little bit above there, probably even above there, actually closer to 390 if I had to guess. But this thing's getting rejected right at the exact area that you would not want to see if you were expecting a real reversal, because, as long as you're below that green 55, I mean, that's where you expect a lower high in a trending move for the most part. So if you do see this one, it's not going to happen today, but tomorrow, if it does come back down below the low of today at 337.5, I would say your move is more likely to come back down closer to your entry, maybe not all the way to your entry, to be honest, but back down to like 330-ish region, even before anything else. So yeah, man, you're basically trying to play a reversal before it really is confirmed. These do happen, obviously, every once in a while, but of course the probabilities will be against you when you trade against the overall trend. So I personally wouldn't be betting against it. I mean, this literally just looks like a shitcoin chart, to be fair, or it's already on regular scale, but yeah, not the picture of health and fitness there, sir. Long term. Sam Fragnosi says, can we look at gold on the daily and 4 hour? Yeah. XAUUSD. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I called a top on this one back in late April. Do I stick with that top call, or is this thing looking bullish now? I mean, yes, it has switched into a bullish price action pivot. But the high that really matters for trend here is this high from the 6th of May at 34. So this is an instance where I kind of disagree with the price action pivot. Yes, it's correct here. Yes, that typically does work. But I mean, like, programmatically, that is correct. Yes. Trying to look for something obvious on this one. Yeah, I'm more inclined to say this thing still has a sort of inside bar for the month of June, and I do think that you will at some point get downside towards like 3,200. I know it doesn't look like it right here. I mean, look, I should be bullish on this thing as long as you're above Thursday's low. I personally don't think it's going to work out like that, but that's my opinion. That's not like real technical analysis or anything like that. And my opinion is wrong all the time. I mean, that's just like it's just a feature. But if I'm looking at the 4 hour time frame, yes, obviously down. I do think it probably will take out this low and trade closer to 3,200, but really not a validated move until you do take out that low. For the short term on the 4 hour time frame, I think you come back down to like 33, 36, somewhere between there, and 33. 23-ish region should be at least a short-term bounce attempt, but I really do think that this thing will come down. But hey, I would be the one fighting against a trend here, to be fair. So that's not really validated, like I said, until you're back down below last Thursday's low. That's going to be a big pivot, I think, for a lot of these things. Cedric says, GM, thoughts on Hood? I think you mean Robinhood. Robinhood markets. Daily is good. Daily is a breakout. Weekly is a breakout as well. Oh, this thing's bullish, man. This thing's very bullish. Look, you might get a pullback at some point in June. If it happens, I guess somewhere close to like $60 is fair game. But this thing's bullish. This is a real breakout, it looks like. Yeah, I like it. Or sorry, the weekly has not confirmed a breakout just yet, but it is looking strong. 5-day could very easily confirm the breakout by tomorrow night's closure if it's just anywhere here or higher. I think the daily kind of is already doing it. Like, the daily does have hidden bullish divergence come off these last few lows, and it has closed on new highs. So I personally think that this one will continue with the breakout. But if you want to go by the book, then it's technically not there just yet. But overall, very, very strong chart. The quarterly is a massive bullish engulfing dildo as it stands. Still got 27 days left to go. But yeah, overall, very, very good. I think that this one generally trades higher because it is effectively a blue sky breakout. there's no real price targets to give. I mean, your next area of interest is going to be like $71, I guess, if that even matters. Above there, you got 80, like the prior literal high at 85, and then you probably just get a free ride to 100, honestly, after that. Is it too late for buying? I mean, if you want to buy breakouts, then I would say not necessarily. But just be aware that you could easily get a pullback close to like low 60s or high 50s before it follows through. All right, nice one. And, you know, it is honestly, in my opinion, very difficult to trade breakouts just because a lot of them do fail, to be fair. But yeah, it is there. You know, you do have the signals, you do have the, you do have the setup. So whether you want to take that risk on is up to you, sir. But I would say, look, if you're going to play a breakout like this, I guess this would be one of the times to do it. Just know where your risk is, and more importantly, you know, where does this one fail and fall apart? I mean, your risk is all the way down to like 55. So yeah. Vazgen, Mr. Klatchin, definitely Russian. Maybe just from an Eastern European state. Sorry, man, if that's offensive. Syrup, sure, man. I'm sure the food-related tokens are going to be doing great. Actually, pretty good. Actually, pretty damn good. Hidden bullish divergence on this last low over here, basically at your all-time highs already. If anything has a chance to really be bullish, it's this thing, actually. Funnily enough. Maple Finance. I'm going to write this one down. Maple Finance. Okay. What's up with these fucking food names? Like, for real. Trying to look for a counterpoint here. 5-day time frame. Might even engulf by tomorrow. If it trades anywhere above 47 cents, this thing's going to go fucking ballistic. Like, I mean, at that point, it's probably just going to double, honestly. Anyways, back onto the chats here. No time frames given on this one. I do think in the short term, you see this move extend a little bit more towards 44 cents. Probably pulls back from there, plays out of range. And if you do see it back above basically what is the current all-time high, like this thing's going to fucking explode, I think. Anyways, JS says, thanks for the analysis on TMC. All good, man. What are your thoughts on OMEX stock? I think this is Helsinki Exchange. No, it's not. I'm thinking of something else. I think it's HKEX. We should actually look at it. Finland has literally the worst economy in all of Europe, by the way. The pride of the Finns. And you fucking feel it here too, I'll tell you that. Anyways, OMEX, really bad long term, like absolutely terrible long term. Literally looks like your average shitcoin chart. I think that this one's gonna come back down and eat up this whole move at some point that began in April. Just to be 100% blunt with you. Yeah. Again, rejection right at that green 55 EMA. That's exactly where we expect lower has to come in around for the trend, and this one's a downtrend. So I'd play it as such and expect this one to come back down, I don't know, 50 cents, somewhere between 30 to 50 cents. Big range there. But yeah. All right. What is Helsinki Exchange? Let's see. Yeah, it's OMXH. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, it's a top 15 best. Jesus Christ, man. It really is a shitcoin. Even Elsa knows that this is a terrible chart. Wow. Down only since 2021. Almost every other European major index has made new all-time highs. Let's see, DAX. Yeah. Let's see, FTSE. No, this is not the right one. Well, it is the right one, but yeah, it's still up. Anyways, yeah. Crazy stuff, man. Anyways, Woti says, good morning, Crown. Good morning to you as well, sir. Could you look at NVIDIA? Yeah. I actually have it on my list over here. I do not have a position. I actually did sell some stock yesterday in one of my holdings, but not because I necessarily think it's bearish, but just because I wanted to take some profits. NVIDIA. I highlighted this circle over here. I think this was a target based off of the breakout from May. But what is it doing now? Yeah, you know, honestly, similar to Bitcoin, I do think that you could easily afford a pullback here. If it does, that red 5 EMA on the monthly is a big area of interest, which is like 130 to 126 or so area. I don't really know what time frames are going off of here because you didn't specify, but looking at last week's closure, do I think it's going to come down and play at a bit of a pullback? Probably yes. Still long-term bullish, I guess, as long as you're above about 122.25. Below there, this thing starts to look like an actual head and shoulders, I guess. And at that point, I mean, this thing's going to probably come back down to $100, maybe even lower. But I have a really hard time seeing most of these things take out their April lows, so I'm just not generally biased towards that. And again, when we go to the quarterly here, again, I'm not going to be bearish off this. I think it can afford a pullback easily, but this is not necessarily a bearish quarterly as it stands, at least. So yeah. Pisa says, "Good morning, sir. Hey, what's up, ma'am? Could you please take a look at XRP?" Yes. Kind of looked at it a little bit earlier, I guess, but quarterly, not very impressive as of right now, but still got more or less a month to go. The monthly does remain above the red 5 as well, so it is above all major moving averages, so can give it the benefit of the doubt here. But like I said, on the daily, I really do think that this one will come back down to $2 or maybe a little bit below $2 at some point in this month, probably within the first couple of weeks of June. If it is indeed going to be a bullish June, we'd be expecting that kind of earlier on within the month. You got silver cross to the downside forming right here. You're below all major moving averages as well. Again, the weekly is more or less a range between the high of May and the low of April, and you just rejected the high of May, so probably coming down at least to like $2, maybe, like I said, 190 to 180-ish region. But I'd be expecting a bounce there. I don't think it's going to break down, or at least it's not my first call on the first pass. You should have a nice bounce. Same thing on the bi-weekly. Can it come down here and put in bounce and put in a nice wick? Yeah, of course. So it's not necessarily bullish. It's not necessarily bearish. And in fact, the higher term time frame, especially, this is certainly not bearish, and if anything, is bullish. But I do want to call out that the monthly stochastic oscillator has continued to the downside here. A fresh cross to the downside and continues down below 282. So that does kind of imply to me that XRP must more or less trade above last month's high by the end of June if it wants to maintain its stronger position here heading into the deeper portion of summer. Carlos Antunes says, "Good morning. What's up, ma'am? SPX 6900. Yes, this is the must-stop Murad shitcoin of choice, right? I like the guy, but I don't like the chart, to be honest. Again, getting rejected kind of at the exact place you would have been expecting right here. We haven't looked at this one in a while. Is playing within a range from the last time that I charted it, but as long as you're below 120 and above about 95 cents, nothing really news happened. 95 cents is effectively your price action pivot low. Momentum is going to head to the downside here as long as you're below 115. You do see that there is a nice trendline regression, so there should be some support if it does come down around here. So perhaps it does, come down a little bit, set another higher low, and then try for a real breakout. Possible. I'm more biased towards that not happening, to be honest. I think that this one is probably seeing the high of this rally. But that's just a personal opinion. Again, my personal opinions are wrong very, very often. As far as lower term timeframes go, not bad in the short term. Again, just kind of validating the short term range analysis. You got your highs here, 117, and your low basically of yesterday. You just rejected the high, probably come down a little bit more, but it's not bearish in the short term as long as you're above 95 cents effectively. Below 95 cents, yeah, expect a correction down to like 80. And then we'll come back to it after that. So yeah. Anyways, I'll take another sip of this water. Anita Cho says, "Smash the like button, everyone." Yes, it is highly appreciated, but you don't need to do what you don't want to do. Mr. Wonderwood, Peter Underwood, how you doing, man? VRA is cooked, he says on Twitter. Let's see what this is in reference to. Let's check it out. The VRA token. Yes. Veracity. I remember this one from a prior cycle. What the hell? Oh, my hair is coming into my mouth. Bad. Yeah, great chart, man. Really, really good. Amazing. Just amazing. Well, the trend is your friend. Yet another rejection at the 55, by the way. Yeah. I think the exchange staff is selling this one pretty hard, man. The manipulation is strong on this one. But we're not going to let them take our Veracity tokens low. Those bastards. They won't get me. They won't get me. I saw this James Wynn? The guy who's putting up like significant positions on social media, which always makes you think. But I saw him yesterday, more importantly, after, I guess, like just deleting all of his money, or at least a very large portion, it would seem. He was effectively like asking people for money to fight the market making cabal. And man, these fucking, it's like, it's the same playbook as the alpha male influencers. Like, we're gonna take out the matrix, but I just need your support, man. If you could give me like $20, bro, just send $20 and I'm gonna take on these fucking bastards for you. It's like, you don't even know who they are. Maybe your losses are coming from bad trading decisions rather than the shadowy market cabal that has lizard operations across the world. It's like, yes, the thing that is totally unprovable is the one that is definitely fucking right. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Anyways, what's up, Turkish DFF? I see your name there, but where is the comments? Yes, I hate it when my hair comes into my mouth. Yes, and hopefully my cum doesn't come into my hair. That would be bad. Andor says, good morning. What's up, man? Okay, low. Okay, low. On high term timeframes. All right. So to me, that means, I don't know, for a stock like weekly, monthly, it's retested its all-time high. Very common to expect a pullback from a region like this. It can definitely afford a pullback and still remain overall bullish. I mean, shit, this thing could come down to like $45. And I would still be bullish on it. It's still higher lows. Let's go down to a daily just to see. Yeah, if it wanted to fill this gap over here, even just come down to like 44, this is still a higher low, man. It's been a straight fucking vertical move. It's very similar to Bitcoin in that respect. And in the same respect on, the very high term timeframes, I think that this thing really has a chance to continue from here after maybe a short term pullback. Even the same thing on a quarterly. The quarterly is close to engulfing as well, and such a fucking massive green dildo. I mean, Jesus Christ, have you ever seen such girth? I have not. They're hunting my stops. Yes, they're hunting my stops. They're going just after you, man. They're going just after you, for sure. And who is they? It's the combination of all of the exchange staff from every exchange colluding with each other. Never mind the inherent risk of one colluding with other people who you don't even fucking know, who can massively fuck you over as well. Because, I mean, they're trying to fuck someone else over. So why would you not expect them to fuck you over? And then two, yes, the exchange staff who are probably not even a player. Anyways, there are other big players out there as well. There's very, very big players. I mean, shit, Michael Saylor is a fucking big player. If he wants to move the price, he can. And it's all a game. It's all a game. It's all a game. Once you start to realize that trading, investing, analysis, it's all a game, you start to understand there's no fucking shadowy cabal that's out to get you. There's just your retarded thoughts. No, I did not check PP. All right, let's check PP. All right, I will just look at it here and trust that PP was indeed posted. Oh, God. All right, what? Crypto Shark says, my pronouns are hey idiot. Let's look at PP corn, please. Actually, I'm glad that you did point that one out. How did I miss that one? I was like right on it. Anyways, PP coin, actually kind of interesting to me here. It's holding above the areas that you would expect if it's going to be a little bit more immediately bullish, but I do think that the market's more likely to pull back in the short term than continue from here. You got the same sort of setup that you see across the board, but this one is stronger than most. Certainly for the shitcoins, did sell off on the top side of its range. Okay, you expect that. It also has come down to the bottom side of its range, and it is holding above all major moving averages on a 5-day time frame, so it's not bad. Daily timeframes even getting some upside signals here too. I wouldn't have been expecting that, to be honest. I still have a hard time getting around my own biases, to be honest, but if I had to call it, I actually do think that this one will come back down towards Saturday/Sunday's low. And if it does close below Saturday's low, I would extend that move all the way back down to like 9,000-ish regions, somewhere down around here where my cursor currently is. But again, that's not necessarily bearish. As long as it's between these two boundaries on the higher term timeframes, I think long term it actually does have the makings of one of the better shitcoins, just because it does have higher highs and higher lows in a way that 99% of these things do not. So I'd give it the benefit of the doubt. But Do I think it's going to break out from here on an upside move? I do think it's more likely to come down first and then break out later, you know, whether it's like late this summer or early in Q4, something like that would make more sense to me. But moves don't need to make sense to me in order for them to happen. That's just my personal opinion again. So yeah. All right. What else do we have? Have you checked out the updated dawnless days? Actually, I haven't checked it out in a couple of years now, but it is what it is. Don Keanu says, Cardano, Ethereum. How about just one of these shitcoins at a time, sir? We can look at Cardano. I don't think it's changed from the beginning of the stream, but we can look at it. Still caught within a range, man. It's like, do I think it could come down here? Yes, but you got the same issue as all the other things. Like, I don't think it's going to take out April lows. I think whatever pullback you get is going to generally be an opportunity. But technically speaking, not bullish until you take out the May highs. And at that point, you're going to see $1 plus. I mean, more than, like, literally more than $1, like 120, probably even new highs on this rally. But yeah. Holding on for dear life here as well. But, you know, I certainly wouldn't rule out first a short-term pullback. If this thing came down to like 60 cents, that's completely fine. So yeah, just my personal opinion. Anyways, crikey, Aussies don't actually say that. I don't know, man. I've been listening to a lot of Steve Irwin, and I think they do. I haven't heard Jason say it though, or his brother Michael. Can't imagine that. Crikey, bloody hell, this chart. Why is doing an Australian accent not racist, but doing, oh, it is a very boorish chart is considered racist? Someone explain this to me. I don't have black accent though. I wish I did. That's the best one. Anyways, dog on Bitcoin. All right, look, what sort of highly esteemed shitcoin are we walking into right here? Dog on, Jesus, not even on dog. I don't even think there is one, man. Being trolled with this bullshits. Plume, yeah, man. I remember we looked at this one last week or the week before that for you, and we were saying, hey, this thing's breaking down. And yeah, look, you might get a short-term rally here. It could easily pop up to like 15.5 or 16 cents, but this one was pretty good up until this region right here. But then, of course, as always, these things lose their trend, and then it's down, down, down we go. But there will be pops. Yeah, probably does trade up to 15 cents. Try an Aboriginal accent. That'll get you in a world of fun. I don't even know what the hell that means, man. If you're white, eating rice is racist. Okay, well, is it because it's white rice or brown rice? Like, I don't. But if you're white, can you eat brown rice? Is that okay? And what about black beans? Can only black people eat that? Or do you have to eat pinto beans? Or is that only for brown people? And white people have to wait for the white beans, I guess. Cardano are some of the nicest, but has Cardano figured out smart contracts yet? Keck, says Higo. I don't know. According to their chart, probably not. Yes, and then their co-founder KO'd themselves. Wait, what? What is... Reading all of these out of context here, I think. Calamity says, what are your thoughts on SAI? SAI, all right, let's check this one out. Remember we looked at this one like earlier on in the cycle, and it's actually like pretty good, but yeah, not so good anymore, obviously. Does what most shitcoins do, which is go down. But it does have a short-term uptrend here. But I kind of imagine you're doing the same thing as most of these shitcoins. I think that you will very likely be bound by whatever the 200 simple is on this rally, if not earlier, and that's all the way at 3.5 cents. So if it does get there, that's kind of where I'd be expecting a local high to be put in. For right now, yeah, it's getting a little bit of a pullback today, but not super problematic until you're back down below Saturday's low. Below Saturday's low, it does have a reversal and very likely does come back down a little bit below 2 cents. But for right now, man, yeah, I'm not going to like this long term. I don't think that this thing's ever going to trade above its January high, or at least certainly not this cycle. If it gets an extension of this move, the obvious target is like 4 to 4.25 cent or so. I think the long term is kind of capped here. Higo says DOB BTC. DAUB BTC. Okay, this is a new one and also doesn't have a Bitcoin pair, sir. Does it have a USD pair? It also does not have that as well. I'm being trolled with these fake tickers. These fake tickers. Yeah. Let's see. What else do we have? Ah, yes. Fucking by the dip says, Chainlink when breakout or when sell. I am gay for TA or short long term, please. Nice. I feel like there was a phrase thrown in there that broke up the chain of thought. By the way, I'm also gay for TA. Well, me too, man. Anyways, your question is when breakout and or when sell. I mean, it depends when you enter it, of course, and what your long-term strategy is, of course, as well. You're resting right on that weekly 200 simple. You know my rules with this one, man. I really don't like getting bearish, anticipating a breakdown, in this case below it, but you know, you are about to get a silver cross to the downside on the weekly time frame, which is, you know, significant, I think. If that does happen, I'd be looking for a short-term short-term, like a downside move towards 12-ish, let's say $12-ish, which is actually a pretty big percentage move from where you're at right now. But I like most things, I really don't think you're going to take out these April lows. You know, if it does, it does. And then we know that the market is like truly bearish. And I mean, at that point, like cycle's kind of over. But, you know, can you afford to move down to $12 and then close the month kind of where you're at here or maybe a little bit higher? I think it's definitely possible, man. I think that's probably what this market's going to look like. Even the daily switching around into a bearish posture here as well. But you're going to get bounces. If you get a short-term bounce, like $14.80 to $15 is where I'd be looking towards. But I'd treat this one with caution as long as you're below the 200 simple here as well. It's just a nice, easy bias buster, and that's currently effectively like $18. So yeah. All right, some more sippy sips of this water would be good. What do you truly think about Elon and dog it this run? Is Elon a token, or do you mean about the person? I don't think that I should be judging someone like Elon Musk, who has accomplished significantly more than probably I ever will. And so I would hold off on my own criticisms of him. As far as Dogecoin, I think there are going to be better choices for sure if you want to play the shitcoin roulette. We have Chase Craft, Mr. Herpity Derp back. He says, can you check out Maker? Let's actually check this one out. MKR. USD. Let's see. Pretty good actually in the short term. I mean, daily does have a higher low and probably is going to trade back up closer to like 1950, whatever this high is over here. I think the weekly actually is kind of reversing here as well, man. I think that this thing could actually extend its run towards 2250-ish region. Not great long term, but again, not the worst thing long term. At least it has macro higher lows. Most shitcoins can't say that. Didn't make new highs this cycle just yet, but I think that this thing actually does have potential here to put in a pretty significant upside move, especially if it trade back above the May highs. I mean, this thing should go on a nice run towards 28 or maybe even 3,000 from there. We'd be pretty good, man. Best thing I've seen about Cardano holders. Yeah, for some reason, people seem to really hate Cardano and other people seem to really love Cardano. At the end of the day, it's just another shitcoin in my opinion. Like, I don't really see how it's much different than 99% of other things. Yes, it does have macro cycle higher lows, but not higher highs. And I don't know. It's the same thing as what you see with all of these cult coins like XRP, like Hex, like Pulse, like I don't know, there's probably a bunch of meme ones as well. You know, all of these cult coins, you know, they get their following. But I guess it's one of the better ones of those, I suppose. What's Rui Boss? Here in does that mean Belgium and Netherlands, you aren't allowed to drink Rooibos tea? They stamp you with slave owner. Wait, what? Okay. So okay, whatever. I'm not getting into this right now. Stack says AKT USDT on the daily and weekly. Nice. We have time frames and we have a ticker and we have a bad chart as well. but similar to most things, you know, do I think that you could get a rally towards your 200 simple? Yeah, at some point, but that's going to effectively align with your May highs. The more that it kind of hangs down here. So I do think that you are range bound. Short term, does it give another move towards a downside more? I do think that downside moves in the short term are more likely, but again, I highly doubt that this thing will break April lows. If it comes anywhere close to there, that should be an opportunity for at least a big bounce play. And then if it fails, it fails, you know, fuck it. But this thing, again, there's just better things in the market. Certainly not the worst shitcoin. I mean, this one's, again, better than 99% of them. That's for damn sure. But, you know, where would I actually say that this thing kind of has a chance to put in like a real rally with price targets into the $2, $3, maybe even more range? It needs to start, basically just needs to trade above last month's high or effectively close a weekly dildo above $2 or so. Just this last price action pivot right here. Until then, you know, the trend is your friend, and it is indeed a downtrend. It's just where does that next, you know, bounce come in from? I think it probably comes in from a little bit lower. You know, you're seeing 5 days stochastic momentum turn down freshly here. And I mean, this is another lower high. So I guess there even is a chance of this one continuing to the downside. I just personally think that these are less likely to break April lows, but doesn't mean it's impossible. Quarterly, not very impressive, but again, not like a death sentence as well. So not getting much from that. Your reaction is literally quite correct, sir. It's South African tea that was exported by the Dutch, but if you drink it now, they stamp you with slave owner stamp. Is this like from hundreds of years ago? I think it's a little bit difficult to blame people for that. It's just my opinion, but hey, the world is absolutely fucking crazy nowadays, so maybe we should. And also, I want my reparations. I don't know what for, but there's something, I don't know, I probably have like a black ancestor like from way back, so I deserve at least like, you know, I don't know, 5% equal to my genetic makeup. I mean, how else do you explain my hair, man? Looks like fucking pubes. It is what it is, man. And look, I like it, but I want my fucking money. Let's see. Frozen Fire says cookie short term, another food token. Let's see what this one's looking like. The last one was actually surprisingly good. I guess we go to maybe Mexi. Let's see what sort of history we have here. So it's okay. It's been around for a little over a year. So there's that. Or it's, yeah, actually literally almost a year to the day, in fact. Kind of struggling with this one, but like have to put this one into context of everything else that we've seen. If I was just looking at this one on its own, I'd say actually this one kind of has a chance here to potentially break out, but this effectively is the top side of your range and did get rejected there, and that is a doji dildo, which is, you know, that's indicative of a rejection. Price action pivots down here. I think that you come to the middle of the range at least, like 18 cents or so. Maybe try a bounce there. If it fails, then closer to 12 cents. But just like everything else, I really don't think that these things are breaking below April lows. I think that this is just one massive consolidation range for many of these things, especially the newer shitcoins. I think that they have the best shot here to do something impressive, you know, maybe late summer or early in fall. We drink shrooms in our rooibos tea down here. That's a great idea, actually. I hear shroom tea is very good for you. Oh, you're talking about cookie short term. All right, let's go short term. I guess 4 hour maybe. Short term local high. I think this one comes back down to like 22 cents or so. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You'll know that I'm wrong because it closed above 26.75. If it does that, you're probably looking at like 30, maybe more. Ronnie Reese says render. We can look at render, but stop with the all capitals. Actually, no, I'm not going to do it because it's all capitals and we hate that shit, man. It's annoying as fuck. Cameron Malpe says doggy day, week, if done. Oh, day and week. Yeah, we did already do it as, you know, as always. So we'll do Solana for you, which we already kind of looked at as well, but at least we can have more of a fresh take on this one. Start high, finish low. Yeah, like most things, man, again, getting rejected here at the top side of your range. I do think you have some downside here, but I don't think you are going to be taking out these April lows. If you go down to a daily, you know, can you get a short-term rally? Sure, you know, if it extends towards like 166, whatever. But as long as you're below either this price action pivot here on a wick basis, or especially the 200 simple at 179, you know, I think any bounce that you get is just another lower high, and you get ready for a little bit lower. But again, not continuing with the actual downside move. Just, you know, maybe back down around here to like 130 or so, and then come back to it after that. Monthly is not terrible, actually, so maybe I'm massively wrong. If I'm wrong, you'll see this thing trade above the May highs, and from there, I mean, it's going to be a straight shot to like 220, 230-ish region, maybe in just new highs from there. But again, I think that that's less likely. Looking at the bi-weekly time frame, you know, if this one closed below the 159.5 low, yeah, I'd say that that's a pretty damn good signal. This thing will come down to like 130-ish, give or take a few bucks. Solana won't move until Bitcoin moves. It also doesn't really seem to move when Bitcoin moves as well, sir. If you haven't noticed, Solana is how far away from prior all-time high? 60%. Just a small 60% move to all-time highs, while Bitcoin has made new all-time highs. Sorry for the capital letters. I plead guilty to my war crimes. Yes, ban him. Get him out. No, kidding. Okay, joking. We do have to have, you know, some rules here because, yeah, I mean, when people just start spamming in all capitals tickers, it's just fucking annoying for other people, man. But all good, man. I appreciate that. Let's see. Solana, Ethereum. We could actually look at a Solana. That's probably a more interesting chart. Which one's better, Solana or Ethereum? I'm going to guess Ethereum. We've been saying Ethereum for a while now is going to start to eat up its pairs with other major cryptos. Maybe not necessarily Bitcoin, but certainly most of the other ones. And yeah, I still think that is top tier. But you are probably going to get one more rally. Yeah, the monthly. Look, if this thing popped up to like 65 or 66, like that's a damn good place for another rejection. I think that this thing is really coming down from here. Like this thing really is done. We can look at Caspa. This one used to be like super popular, and not so much anymore. I can only pontificate on why. Again, it's like so many of these charts, as always, are just fractals of each other in varying degrees of strength and weakness. You got your rejection here at the top side of your range. Let's just call it 13 cents. Bottom side of your range is your April lows, as are most of these things. You rejected the top side of your range. You're already at the midpoint of your range. Maybe you get a short-term rally towards 10 cents if that happens. I don't think it really changes anything. Ultimately, I do think that this thing will come further to the downside at some point in June, somewhere around here perhaps. But again, not making new lows, and that should at least be a really good bounce region, potentially even like the low before a real upside move materializes. But you know, if I'm giving you my often wrong but unfiltered opinion, it would be, I think that this thing's top for a very long time, if not for forever. But yeah, that last monthly right here is just a tremendously nasty rejection. So I'm going to be a lot more biased towards, you know, general downside here. Again, can it try some short-term upside moves? Sure, but just be aware that things don't really change for this thing effectively as long as you're below this price action pivot, or at minimum the fucking daily 200 simple. So yeah. All right, what is up with the Cardano shills today? Like, for real. I just don't get it. Do you think you're gonna, well, whatever. I guess he's got me now. I guess you're right, man. I gotta buy the Cardano. It's the real Bitcoin. Caspa to have smart contracts by Q4. I mean, that's cool, man, but I think most people have realized by this stage that fundamentals don't really matter, especially for the short term. Are we bullish on Super, says Calamity? Let's check it out. It actually had a pretty good bounce here, but it's hard to be net bullish on altcoins in general. Again, it's nearly the exact same chart. If we look at a weekly, your top side of your range is right here. Boom. You rejected the top side of the range. You're back around the mid now. If it does have a short-term rally, like 75, 76 cents is fine, but it doesn't really change anything. You know, I still think that I'd be biased towards this one coming a little bit lower. I mean, you're seeing weekly stochastic momentum head up the whole way through on this rally, which has been an impressive rally, no doubt about that. But without reclaiming that range high, I mean, that does look like a reset to me. So I think, you know, at best, a lot of these things are, of course, doing something like this over the next month and a half, 2 months, whatever it ends up being. And it's just like a sideways accumulation range. You know, let things kind of cool off yet again and maybe give it a real try to the upside later on. But again, it's like, do I think it's going to take out the April lows? Unlikely. Excuse me. Serperator says, I like that name, man. Galaxy just uplisted NAS. Please chart Galaxy on Canadian Shitcoin Exchange. Sure. So this is Mike Novogratz. Hey, what? Oh, it's on NAS now. Okay. I think we need to look at it on the Canadian exchange. Yeah, and you literally just said that, so I'm the fucking redact here. Look, it rallied up into that NASDAQ listing, as is very common with these sort of things, and then sold off from there. I mean, this is very much to be expected. I do think that this one has further downside to go, and I do think it will at some point at least get down to like very low 20s. Let's call it somewhere between 21 to 22. But is this bearish? Not really. I think you got some downside here. You're going to find a higher low somewhere in this pocket here, most likely, and then maybe give another try to the upside. But, you know, the short-term upside move is obviously done. Looking at the monthly, you know, at least like 23.5, reconnect with a 5 EMA there. Maybe it tries another rally attempt from there. You know, I think that kind of aligns with Bitcoin a little bit short-term downside, and then, you know, still remains within its overall good positioning. But yeah. Again, this is referring to the very high term timeframes, which I think you're probably interested in given your message. If you're looking for breakout areas of interest, well, to the upside, it's very, very clean here. I mean, the next time you pop back above about $30.50, I would say that's good enough for me. And this thing's, you know, ready to, I guess, really have like a move to prior all-time highs, you know, $40 and probably beyond. But, you know, give it some time. Here's a quarterly. You know, quarterly is good. Again, it can afford a pullback and still remain overall bullish. But I guess on the other side, like a breakdown, you know, you'd have like real problems below about $19.50. I mean, that's pretty far away from where you're at right now. But of course, you know, you do need to pivot for that as well. But as it stands right now, man, I think it's short-term pullback and then a real try to the upside. Adam says, hello, can you check out Pulse Chain chart? I'm actually genuinely curious enough, but here's what you have to promise me, okay? Because you guys are the fucking craziest ones, all right? Don't put out a fucking hit piece on me on Twitter that all of you guys fucking go after. Like, relax, okay? It's just my opinion, all right? It's just my fucking opinion. Like, for fuck's sake, don't take so much offense to an opinion, you fuck. Anyways, we'll look at Pulse Chain over here. Wow, I'm so surprised. It looks absolutely amazing. In fact, Pulse Chain is the most bullish thing of all time. In fact, all these Pulse people, they've really figured this out. I think that they should buy as much as possible because, well, I mean, this is guaranteed money at this point, obviously. I mean, look at this chart. It goes up and to the right for eternity and eternity. We know that Pulse Chain is having a long-term uptrend, and there is certainly no weirdness or anything bizarre going on here. And for that reason, I certainly will be buying. Okay. Runes and ordinals are not developments, they are scabs. Okay. I'm pretty sure Bitcoin has caught Down syndrome. Do you mean that it's going down? I mean, probably a little bit short term, yeah. Everyone buy Pulse. That's right, guys. We're all going to buy. We're all going to buy. Yeah, I mean, it's really crazy, man. Anytime you even just mention Pulse, you know, whether it be bullish or bearish, like their whole fucking gang comes after you. It's like, great sign, man. Great sign. You know, great optics. Sometimes they even attack Elsa actually as well. Like that's when it got really crazy. Like, it's like my opinion of a chart is, okay, I analyze pretty much everything in the exact same way. It's not anything special. So if I see a downtrend, I'm going to be bearish. If I see an uptrend, I'm going to be bullish. And for some reason, some of them took so much offense to that. They came after Elsa. Like, Elsa has nothing to do with this shit. Like, for fuck's sake. Pesto says, Pulse is flatline. No, man, that's bullish. Everything's bullish. There's nothing that could possibly turn my opinion against that. No possible way in hell. It is bullish and bullish and bullish, and anything that is that says otherwise, well, is just a massive psyop to make you sell your pulse chains low, your pulse coins low, whatever the fuck. Yeah, and we can't be having that. Switch Lane says, I flipped all of my alts to Bitcoin during last month's mini alt season because I didn't want the risk exposure at this stage. Just flipped 40% of my Bitcoin to Ethereum last night, and that pumped today. Ethereum season is next. Actually, I mean, I do think that Ethereum is going to eat into a lot of, is going to be doing better than most things in this next segment. Yeah, I do think so. If we look at Ethereum Bitcoin pair, Yeah, I think that this one, well, hold on, it's just on a 4-hour chart. I don't think that, I still think that this one will move up at least north of 3 million Satoshis. Like at some point, at some point this year, I think even 4 million Satoshis, honestly. But yeah, man. Well, there it is. Yeah, I really wouldn't take too much. Again, it would still be one massive macro downtrend, even if it 2x from here. You know, that's the problem with this thing. You need a 3x in order to flip the trend or potentially flip the trend. But yeah. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, trading around that, fair call. I think generally you time that very, very well. RLC for fucking by the dip. Okay, this sounds familiar from like, I guess, very long time ago. Yeah, this is from 2017, ain't it? It is. Holy shit. And this thing actually did make new highs in 2021.
Did you do bonk?
I did not do bonk, no. We'll do that one next. I don't know, man. I think it's kind of losing its groove here, but again, downtrend is not your friend. Bearish as fuck as long as you're below 145. Quarterly, I mean, the quarterly looks to me like it's ready to push off and trade lower. That, again, just genuine opinion right there. You know, on the monthly, you're about to get a silver cross to the downside for the first time in history. It's probably not going to happen this month. You know, maybe get a rally towards 120 first. That's a 20% move almost. But look, as long as you're below basically the May highs, I think any rally you get is a gift from God on this thing. Again, just my opinion. If you're looking at a daily, not much going on here. If it gets a short-term rally, like 115 to 120 is fair game, but it doesn't really change anything. That's kind of the problem with these ones. Crypto Shart says, "Hi mom, what's up, son? Bonk corn." All right, bonk BTC. Bitfinex. Wow. It's like no one ever talks about this exchange any longer. This used to be like the exchange back in 2017. Very bad. Very, very bad versus Bitcoin. It's too difficult for most shitcoins to beat Bitcoin over the long term. This thing hasn't really been around for super long term, I guess back to, no, I mean 2023, so it's kind of long for shitcoin. But, you know, again, you got lower high right here. You got momentum freshly turning against you on a weekly time frame. I'm going to, of course, be biased towards a move back down around these March/April lows. Do I think that you make new lows on this thing? Definitely possible for something like this because, well, you know, this is versus Bitcoin. And also, we don't really have the history that most of the other things do that makes me think April lows will be a bounce. And this is, again, not versus the US dollar. So it's a different chart altogether. Can it extend the current rally a little bit? I mean, sure, if it rallied up to like 1855 Satoshis, that's fine. Again, doesn't really change anything, especially as long as you're below the daily 200 simple, which is all the way at 2450 Satoshis. So, you know, long term, I'm just expecting continuation of trend, and well, that's that, I guess. It is what it is. All good, man. We already looked at SYRUP a lot earlier, sir. A lot earlier. WIF, we could look at WIF, actually. I'm curious to see where this one's at. This was one of the most popular meme coins in this whole damn market not so long ago. And, you know, just looking at a quick monthly look here, it's like, yeah, I think that it is actually possible to get some pretty impressive rallies on these things. You know, if this thing popped up to like 180 or 190 even, like that really wouldn't throw... Yeah, that would not really surprise me that much, to be honest. But do I think that this thing's topped for the cycle? Almost undoubtedly. And even when I go down to a weekly here, I realize that maybe I'm being a little bit too lenient on this thing to begin with. You got the same setup as you have on just about everything else. Top side of your range, rejection so far, up perfectly on that green 55 EMA for a higher term time frame like the weekly. This whole rally has effectively eaten up your momentum. I mean, it's eating up the momentum. So, you know, the longer that it takes kind of consolidating right here, the more and more it's just going to eat that up. And at that point, you know, I think that you're going to get another move back down, maybe closer to like 55-ish, 55 cents-ish. Do I think that you make new lows below April lows? Probably not. See what a quarterly looks like. Yeah, again, here's our quarterly, like, not great. Again, you can get short-term bounces, but I'd be very, very skeptical of this thing, especially as long as you're below last Friday's high, which is the price action pivot, and also very close to that 200 simple on the daily as well. So I think those things probably work hand in hand here. All right. Hey, what's up, Philson? Yeah, let's check out Tesla. Tesla is actually something that I do own. So just full disclosure, I did buy it, I think significantly, yeah, much lower than where it's at right now. You know, your monthly, again, opening up on a bit of a pullback is not a surprise. I think it could still maybe go a little bit lower and reconnect with that red 5 EMA. That is officially at 323.5. So maybe it does try a little bit lower there. But ultimately, if you are bullish on this thing, you'd be expecting either the low is already in or it comes down there and it bounces from there and it continues to new highs on this rally. And looking at traditional markets, I actually think it's possible that this thing does not go lower and does try higher from here. It's going to depend on what NASDAQ closes at for tonight, but this one's still in a position to actually have a real breakout. It's not quite there just yet, but it is definitely a potential. And if that happens, then I'd be expecting this one to follow through as well. But if I had to call it right now, if you put a gun to my head, I'd say, yeah, I think you're more likely to pull back a little bit first and then try an upside move. Again, here's your quarterly, like not necessarily bearish, but is it immediately bullish? I don't know about that. Like, it can still take some time to play out. So yeah, that's what I'd be saying about that. You know, to the upside, I'll tell you what you already know. Your breakout is confirmed above last Thursday's high, which is 367 or 368 almost, you know. So as long as you're below there, it's probably better to be betting on a little bit more of a pullback, maybe closer to like 325-ish, like I said. If 325 does fail, or it's 323 does fail, then this thing starts to morph into something completely different. And you kind of have the same setup as what we saw in a lot of these cryptos, where you reject the range high here, you come back down to the middle of the range, which is effectively 300, which is what I was actually saying last week. So I still think that that's actually very much possible here. Should get a bounce there, and that bounce would absolutely must have to get back above your May highs. Otherwise, I think it's closer to the bottom side of the range, just like most other things. But I think it'll probably choose the more bullish of those routes. Just personal opinion again. We already looked at SPX 6900. We could look at hype, yeah. Where is the hype? Where's that hype? No, for real though, where is it? We need to get the energy up in this place right now. We got some European low energy going on, and we need to raise the energy. There it is, hype. We need some hype. Honestly, among the best shitcoins that we've seen today, for sure. You got your last price action pivot as a bullish pivot at $30.50. So, you know, as long as you're above there, like, have to be favoring the upside. Daily momentum is about to freshly cross the upside, assuming today can close above 33.69, which it's $3 above almost right now. Or sorry, a little bit less than $3 above. But assuming that it closes here or higher by end of day, I think you're actually in a position to retest your $39.25 to $40 high. Maybe it just continues to new highs from there. Pretty fucking powerful move, to be honest. If it does, I mean, this thing would just be primed for new highs if that happens, I guess. Do we have a potential? No, we do not have a potential bullish engulfing, but shit, it's very, very close. I should probably talk about the downside as well. Look, your most obvious area of interest for getting bearish on this thing, or at least mine, would be the price action pivot at $30.50. Below there, I think that this thing could go for a pretty deep retracement, like let's call very low 20s, you know, maybe around like 24 to 22 region, something like that. But for right now, God, my nose is so itchy with these damn allergies. Like, I wake up in the middle of the night just to sneeze. It's crazy. So yeah, actually, this one is certainly among the best that we've seen today. Yeah, and the quarterly, I mean, looking like that, this would be mega fucking bullish if the quarterly closes anything resembling this. So I'd effectively say any sort of pullback you get is a pretty nice opportunity. Seth Shepard says, worst altcoin market ever. Well, yeah, I mean, as we went over earlier, like, your alt seasons are expected to get worse and worse over time, man. Here's your real Bitcoin dominance chart. And yeah, that's exactly what you see. Here's your big one from 2017, the one that everyone lovingly remembers and thinks that will repeat every fucking cycle. Here's your one from 2021, objectively about 50% smaller. And then here's your one from 2024, another 50% shaved off there as well. All right, let's do a couple more and then we'll call it a day. We already looked at gold band, so just scroll back. Pendle for Aconic. Remember, this one was pretty good early on within the cycle, but let's see if it survived later on in this cycle. Wow, what the fuck? That doesn't look right. All right, the monthly chart was very bizarre looking there. Again, one of the better ones, actually. You still got the same sort of setup that we see across the board, but this one is objectively stronger than most. You got another higher low in the making right here. Hidden bullish divergence coming off of that low. I think that even in the short term, you probably trade up towards like $4.50, but your breakout is technically not confirmed until you're back above Tuesday's high, last Tuesday's high, not this Tuesday, but last Tuesday's high. Above there, this thing's going to fucking run to $5, $6, maybe more. I mean, it's pretty impressive for a shitcoin here. Let's see. What else do we have? Maybe one more. Turbo. We could look at Turbo. And then let's look at Ondo. I know people love their Ondos, their Ondo tokens. Not so interesting. You know, again, compared to the last one, significantly weaker. Here's the top side of your range. I don't know when I charted this one, but it's still valid here. I mean, this one's switching around into a bearish posture, and I think that this one comes down, more likely to come down in like the medium to short term. Maybe like very, very short term, it tries one last rally towards almost 1/2 cent. God damn, really annoying. Do you talk to Elliot anymore? Yeah, man, actually quite frequently. I love the dude. He's like one of my, he's like my best crypto friend, or one of my best crypto friends, I'd say. Yes, no, we looked at Turbo. Let's look at Ondo. We'll end on Ondo, because I know this one's rather popular. All right, my Ondo tokens. What are you looking like? Again, another range play. Range high is May highs. Range low is April lows. You're already in the middle of the range and kind of failing here. So let's say that this one has a higher probability of getting very close to those April lows, maybe like 70 to 75 cents or so. Very, very short term. Can it bounce? Sure. You know, could try another move towards like 88 to 90 cents or so, but doesn't really change anything again, especially as long as you're below, the breakdown area here at 95 cents, just call it a buck, basically. Hard one to love in the immediate term. Whoops, just drawing lines now. My apologies. Monthly, again, like not great, man. That last month does look like a rejection dildo. So as long as you're living below that high, I'll treat this one with skepticism, but like I said, you could easily get a rally towards like even 90 to even a buck, 90 cents to a buck. Doesn't change anything though, for the longer term. So yeah. All right, Ondo Gondo, says Van Duysen. All right, one last one for our Twitter homie. Schaefer says Palantir. This one's just because I love Palantir. I still selfishly wanted to go lower so I can buy more lower, but this thing just is the honey badger that continues to go up and to the right. Look, with a quarterly like this, there's, in my opinion, no reason to be bearish on it. Fuck, if this thing closes anywhere above 125.5 by the end of June, I mean, like, I don't know where the hell it's going, but it's going more up if that happens. For now, daily price action pivot is consistently moving up. We've seen it move up pretty much every couple of weeks, from here in April to here in late April to again in early May, and then more recently in late May, and now it's at 120. So as long as you're above 120, you got to favor the upside. It is a nice healthy uptrend. It's fucking aggressive. It's fucking impressive as well. So that's what I'd say about that, man. If you do lose 120, then I guess I'd be looking for a move to fill this gap over here at about 110 and a half, maybe even all the way down to 100. But I think getting this thing below 100 again is going to be kind of difficult, especially in the short term. So we shall see. All right, cool. Their CEO is a lunatic. I don't know, man. I think he sounds like from what I've seen, he seems like a pretty damn good CEO, man. Anyways, we are going to shut it off on that note. I want to say a massive thank you for everyone joining in. It's been a nice, fun Tuesday live stream. We'll be back on tomorrow with a regular video analysis, and then the next live stream on Friday. Other than that, I want to say